passion for learning is important, and these panelists are really on the leading edge of ensuring that students have an opportunity to learn in ways that are meaningful and engaging to them without barriers that we all, really, most of us experience in our own education.
After a few years at Boeing, I saved them quite a bit of money and then got a Forbes 30 under 30 in manufacturing and industry, so that was cool. Is that the right word for it? I realized there's a problem there, right? There's a problem where people who are growing up and they're ambitious, their aspirations are huge, they don't have the necessary routes, they don't have the opportunities to grow into those different positions. So I wanted to do something to fix that. And how I did it was I quit Boeing when I was 21, and I spent the next 2 years, almost 3 years, I'm 23 today, working on Open X Education, which is a project that I created to create advanced skill training courses instead of for thousands for just a couple $100, and to put them online so anybody can access them with no prerequisites and get industry support and work at their own pace and get that opportunity.
Just absolutely incredible students and scholars, and we are so thrilled at the growth that we're seeing with them already. I especially loved just last week we had a showcase where our kindergartners had been working on a project we call the Bread Project. Bread is the food that is eaten around the world, and so they started that site. I ran a few different programs, including a program where we took students to see colleges with their families. And after that program, the number of families came to me and said, well, where should I send my child to elementary school? You've convinced me, college, but what's gonna get them there? And the options in the community were bleak and have been for decades. And so I decided I wanted to do something more directly in K-12 and got recruited to work at a new network of charter schools that was beginning to grow in New York. So I worked there, managed special education and assessments for a couple of years, and then decided to move back to the West Coast to be nearer to my family, and had the opportunity to work at the California Charter Schools Association, where I coached folks who were starting new charter schools in the Bay Area and then statewide, and then joined the Summit Public Schools organization, which is a network of charter schools in the Bay Area and here in Washington State as we're opening. So I want to create places where kids' identities are valued and where they have really rigorous and academically stimulating environments.
Most options are 100% dependent upon where you live and if you have means or not to attend some sort of private school. Purpose of education we discussed, it's a means to an end currently, maybe a little bit of personal life enrichment. I'm sure you guys remember your home ed classes. And then also as a credential mechanism, it's basically a certificate to get your foot into the door.
I believe anybody in this room, anyone, even if you haven't heard it before, can go out and teach themselves any of these topics. So parents, I think, are very confused when in this given structure that we have in the, put the square into the circle, the structure we have, that their kids don't learn really, really well. That they come home from school and they kind of ask, like, why am I there? I don't get it. Like, things don't pick up naturally. So the reason why I contextualize that with anybody here and can teach themselves that is because I think both of those are related through one item. Everybody here, all of us, have different combinations of learning styles. Neil Fleming in 1995, a phenomenal sociologist, wrote a paper called "I'm Not Dumb, I'm Different." And his assertion is that everybody learns in one of 4 different primary kind of modules, in a sense. We all learn either visually, auditory, reading, or kinesthetic. So what we're missing a lot today in a lot of our structures is the kinesthetic aspect. We get thrown in and we have to go through this like visual and this auditory process, which is lectures, and we're expected to be able to engage just from listening and watching when maybe we learn hands-on. And those same kids after school will go try a new game or something like that, and they'll be like, wow, I can learn this so fast. Why? Because they may be kinesthetic learners. They may be reading learners, but they're in a visual environment. And I think that parents are confused, like the kids are confused, like we're all confused. Why can't I learn in some scenarios, but I can learn in others? And it's that reason. And I think that creating a system where we can exercise the types of learning that we're best at would completely change the success rate of any given, not only program, person.
Can you share kind of your definition of opportunity gap, maybe any experience you've had with it, but more so, maybe what our audience can do to help be part of closing the opportunity gap?
Yeah, absolutely. So the opportunity gap, I guess one example of it from my own personal experience, in my high school, we were heavily tracked, and so there was an international baccalaureate program, but to get into it, you had to test in 8th grade. If you were in that program, you had the opportunity to learn from some of the more experienced teachers, the teachers who were especially passionate about their craft and had gone and pursued the additional certifications and whatnot that they needed to be able to teach in that program. It was a more project-oriented program. You had dedicated college counselors who were really focused on preparing you for college. If you were not fortunate enough to test into that program, then you were in more basic classes where my peers told me about spending a lot of time learning or practicing sitting still, and this was in high school, and where college was not an expectation, and the level of rigor was just not there. So I think that's an example of what the opportunity gap looks like. And I think the way that we close that is by building schools that are relentlessly focused on that, schools where we are unafraid to look at the data and to look at data disaggregated, schools where we believe that every single child can achieve the highest bar that we set for any student, and where we are committed to providing the supports to get every student to reach that high bar. And I think it also, in terms of what the folks in this room can do, I think it's stepping up and being involved in education. We especially need folks in education who come from underrepresented backgrounds or who have had alternative pathways themselves in education to be involved, to lend their perspective, to offer their ideas,